Hey, Doug Walker here. So, I want to make a video talking about something I have that either most of you are aware, maybe you're not aware, maybe some are, some aren't. I don't know. I hear different things from different people. But I do bring it up quite a bit, and I'll even get to why I do that in a second. 2 years ago, I got shingles, which, I got to it in time so that it hurt, but it wasn't the worst. There's a lot of people that go through much worse. But it left me with chronic fatigue. Chronic fatigue syndrome is what it's called, CFS, short version. Or ME/CFS, which I mainly seem to have just the CFS, thank God. But again, you can do a lot of research on this, and I'll tell you quite a bit about it, at least what I have. And it's been with me for 2 years, and I wanted to do a video talking about it, just what it's like to live with it, but just my unique experience, because as you'll find out doing research on it, talking to other people about it, there are many, many, many different experiences with it. And first off, I should point out, because when I first got this, didn't know what it was. Why am I so tired? I mean, it's not just tired, it's like I cannot keep my eyes open. Like, I'll just be talking normal, have a lot of energy, and then just kind of like Rowan Atkinson, Rat Race, I'll just like that. But I won't necessarily be asleep. I can still hear everything. I'm still conscious, but I just can't keep my eyes open. It's like parts of my brain turn off. And I kept going, getting test after test after test. And I found out that if you, with some cases, when you have a virus or a disease that is tied into the Epstein-Barr virus, that can leave you with this chronic fatigue. And it has had a huge spike since COVID, because COVID has, triggered all sorts of various diseases. And a lot of people say they have long COVID as well. And not a lot of people know about, the cures of that, how to get past that. Again, in the grand scheme of things, it's still a very young virus, very young disease. And with this, some people have called it long COVID, with what I have, and I don't know. My guess is that it's not, because when I got shingles, as far as I know, I didn't have COVID, but I could have been asymptomatic. I don't, maybe I had COVID that activated shingles and that gave me this. That's totally possible. But I got COVID later, and I had all the symptoms that you usually get. The smell and taste disappear. I had kind of like a little bit of a flu, but like it felt different. It just felt different from a regular flu. So I'm like, okay, so this. It seems like that's it, but that could be a different strain. I don't know. I'm comfortable just saying chronic fatigue is what I have, chronic fatigue syndrome. And whether it's from COVID or not, or if it was from shingles, it's something we do not know a lot about. And the symptoms can be very different from person to person. And when you look up more information on it, man, I really am one of the lucky ones, big time. The fact I'm even able, I know it kind of sounds like a joke, but the fact I'm even able to talk to you right now is kind of a big holy smokes thing when you see what other people had to put up with. And I feel like I'm talking about this at just the right time, because last week I did a Q&A stream where it hit me in the last 20 minutes, and it didn't just hit me, it hit me really bad. Like, I haven't been hit like this in a while, to a point where I couldn't talk. And it was very embarrassing. It was hard for me to just go through that live with people watching and everything. And it got a lot of people bringing up stuff in the comments and talking about it and everything. And again, so I'm like, all right, well, this feels like a good time to discuss it, because some people got a lot more. It's very nice that you're concerned. It's very loving and caring and everything. I'm also here to set the record straight about what you should and shouldn't be concerned about. For me, this is just me personally, because again, everybody's is a little different. Because I do tell people when I'm gonna do something, like this is one of the reasons I don't do really interviews. Or if I do, I'll make certain exceptions. Like, I did the Oni Slightly Artistic video, and I told them beforehand, one of the reasons I did is because I said, look, I have this thing. if it looks like I'm having a stroke, just know that's what this is. I'm not dying. I'm not in any danger or anything. It just sometimes does this. If that happens, can you please edit around that? They said, absolutely, no problem. Thankfully, during that, it didn't happen. But when watching the stream where it happened, some people were saying, wow, I never really saw him get chronic fatigue on stream. Yes, you have. We just hide it very well. And sometimes we don't hide it that well. So if you ever see me maybe listen to a question or something, I just, do this kind of this blinking thing like that or something like that. It's hitting me. But I've gotten far enough to a point where I can usually work past it okay, and they're usually pretty quick. When they hit now, they're like just a couple of seconds, kind of thing. But then every once in a while, I will have those days where it'll just take me out for several hours, and it isn't something where, again, a lot of people sort of say, oh, well, it's just, again, you get really tired, or you just fall asleep, or you get exhausted easier. That is kind of true, that can happen, but the way I used to describe it is that it was like running a marathon and you have all the symptoms after running a marathon, except you're out of breath, where you're just tired, exhausted, it's hard to think, it's hard to focus, you just got done doing, this major thing and just everything about you is tired. But I don't think that's actually the best way to put it. What I realize now, especially living with it for 2 years, is that it's very much like a breaker in your house. It has all the power switches on there, except it's to your brain, and just randomly parts will just turn off. And it can be something as random as like reading suddenly can be really, really difficult. I don't read nearly as much as I used to. Sometimes I feel like it might trigger it. Other times I'm afraid it's going to hit me while I'm reading, in which case it just kind of makes it worse. But then it'll randomly just turn back on, and there's not much rhyme or reason to it that we can see now, because that's the thing. Before COVID, there was very little known about, well, there's still very little known about it, but it was to a point where people didn't even know if it was real. They thought maybe it was all a psychological thing. And as more and more research has come out, more and more people have gotten in, they say a lot of the same symptoms, they realize this is real, and this was more realized before COVID hit. But after COVID now, I mean, a ton of people are like, yeah, this is real, because a lot of people got it. And, and a lot of the symptoms, I'm sure if you've gotten COVID before, especially really bad COVID, some of these symptoms, brain fog, obviously very tired. I thankfully have not ever gotten any pain out of it, but I do know people that have. Some extreme, some very minor. But again, the symptoms can be very different. Brad Jones technically has it. He got COVID, and then he got it twice. So once it gave him a very particular kind of chronic fatigue, and then the second time it gave him kind of a different one. But like the way we function is very, very different. Like I can do videos like this, like a vlog video, very easily. I can still do that pretty well, unless it hits me really heavy, in which case I can pause the camera, just make an edit pretty easy. But writing stuff is really difficult. And with editing too, if I'm just putting something in order, like I just shot the whole review of me reading the script, saying stuff to the camera, and going back and forth between that, it's all in order, that I can do very easily. But if it's something where I'm editing like a sketch together, where people are talking and there's effects and stuff like that, that's much more difficult when it hits. So, but with Brad's the exact opposite. He had to stop his midnight screenings because he couldn't do one-on-one. His, the brain just wasn't working well enough because he had really bad brain fog with that. But he could do written reviews okay. So there's a lot of things that are different about it. And with him, like he would say, like his legs would kind of hurt and they would get weak whenever it would hit. I never had anything like that. And the interesting thing about it, too, is that it can change. There's one of the things that they would do for testing for it, which is still, as far as I know, there is not officially a test for it. I'll get to that in a second, but one of the things was you get really dizzy when you stand up. That was like something that a lot of people with chronic fatigue had. And at the beginning, I didn't have that. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. It doesn't seem to be a symptom. But then, like, maybe I don't know, 6 months in, something like that. Could be wrong, but bare minimum 6 months in. I did start getting that, and it doesn't happen all the time. It's if I get up really, really quick, and even then, it's not always. So it's something that I'm realizing over time. Whether, how do I put it? While it is getting better, it is far better than it was when it first started. Where when it started off, I mean, I literally would go days in bed. I just couldn't get up, and it was, again, this really bad brain fog. And the best way I can describe it is, anyone seen that Twilight Zone where the little girl goes into this somewhere in the wall, she just steps into a wall and she's in this different dimension where everything's kind of spinning and literally foggy. It's like that. It's awful. It is not a good time. And when it hits, it's like that, plus throw in that just you're incredibly tired, you can't keep your eyes open, you can't focus. I mean, it's really bad brain fog. But then over time it would get better to, like I said, where I can do videos like that. I could, do work okay and everything. But because it is still around, it can also do things like I said, I don't read as much now. And there was a time where I was getting back into reading. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm back. But it's like it changes over time a little bit. Either it changes or I'm not doing things that I usually would do, which would keep certain things, both in my mind and body, active and in focus, and that's having an effect, or it's a little bit of both. And what I was talking about before with that there's no real test for chronic fatigue, what I did is that I went and I got a whole bunch of different tests, like maybe 5 or 6 tests of other things it could be. And then, of course, I started to find out about chronic fatigue. And pretty much all the doctors I was talking to about it, and different, people that did tests for what they call it, rheumatologists and stuff like that, and sleep apnea. I mean, all these different things. Anytime I would bring it up, they would usually say, "Well, here's the thing: there's no official test for it, and all you can really do is do every single test known to man of what this could possibly be. Even the slightest, inkling, the slightest fraction of it could be this. Get that test, of which there's a ton of them, and if it's none of those, you have chronic fatigue." And you can do that and, mess up your insurance, just rake it up. And then you can have people just say, well, you got it. There's nothing we can do about it because we don't know anything about it. So which is why at the end of the videos now, I would usually do, whatchamacallit? Happening right now. Yeah. Hey, here I am. See? Okay, you know what? I am leaving that in. I'm leaving that in because that is what it usually looks like. The majority of them look like that, where it will just sort of disappear and then come back. Now I lost track of thought what I was talking about. But, okay, bottom line, you can see as someone who talks fast, likes to keep you engaged, hates dead air and everything, that's gonna, be really annoying. So you can understand stuff like this for me. It can be very difficult. But because you go to, you do these tests and they say, no, we don't know. We know it's not this thing, so it must be chronic fatigue. There's not much known about it. That's what I was getting to. Yes, I hear you. Turn off the speaker. I should have thought more about that. There's going to be no editing in this video. And I'll get to why in a second with that too. But see, where was I now? See, this is an example. Got the test. They cannot test much for it because I'm going to have to edit. I'm back. I remember. Boy, wasn't that a lie when I'm like, there's going to be no edits. Well, like I said, this does happen. But the reason I do charity shoutouts mainly just for MECFS, I was going to say it's a long term, but that's a long abbreviation, isn't it? But I do that because there really isn't that much info known about it. And there's not that many charities right now, I found out, that are looking into it. So there is something to the fact that, I'm taking a year to try to get, I usually do charity shoutouts for a month. Now I'm doing it like bare minimum a year. And maybe I'll switch it to another one at some point, but I want to do at least a year doing this one. So the reason I talk about it a lot is it's two reasons, and one I wish I could say was the main reason, which was to raise awareness and to get people to know about this, which is good and is true. I certainly didn't know anything about it, and going into this now with it, I'm like, man, I feel like I have more of an understanding of it, which is all very, very good stuff. But the true reason is I want to explain why the work I'm putting out isn't as they're not as big productions as they used to be. Even a video like this, I would usually put in clips or examples of what I'm talking about. And I had to stop doing Untitled Review Show because, again, like I said before, that just takes more energy out of me. And even planning out a shoot, with like a cast in it and stuff like that, I used to be able to really spend more time trying to get more fun shots and more fun angles and so forth, but it just takes more brain power. It's just more difficult to do. And on some days, it can be totally fine. I can have even more energy than usual. And on other days, it really feels like, oh my God, I just gotta get this done and then go home and sleep, And I am so thankful I have the people that I do working with me. Heather's been a godsend whenever I've done the streams, because she can see when it's starting to affect me, and she'll kind of keep talking about it, and just talking about other stuff. She'll fill in the dead air and everything, and when it does happen in the middle of an answer, she'll pick it up and she'll be very honest. She'll say, this is chronic fatigue. It's okay. This happens and everything. And even the last time when I just couldn't talk on the last stream, she was very good at saying we're going to do a timeout. And we talked the best I could talk. It was funny because she was saying all these things about, so Doug, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go. We're going to save the questions. We're probably going to do it, finish them on the Friday stream. So you can go get rest. I was trying to just come around to saying, I think I could get like a thumbs up. And then finally I was like, here I am. Yes, that is good. Just to verbalize it. And for me, I really value my work. I love creating things. I love talking about creative things. I love combining the two. I love critiquing art with art. If that's what you want to call my stuff, I understand if you don't. But you know what I mean. Like analyzing a creative field in a creative way. I really like that. And I think that's fascinating. Whether you get into it or not, I love just that's even an option that I can make a living out of it. And I'm so thankful to everybody for watching me all these years and allowing me to make a living at it. I mean, you have no idea what a dream this is. And that's why I think I always feel, man, if something like this is starting to take it away, it's like, no, a part of me feels like I'm taking it for granted if I don't work my absolute hardest. And I have had to track stuff back because of this. So like I said, my reviews now are mainly just vlog reviews. Like I said, you would usually have clips in here talking about certain subject matter. The NCs are a lot... the productions aren't as big. Now, even before that, I can point out that I was getting older. Everything was kind of pointing to make the videos a little smaller, so there was that. But like I said, I liked doing like the Untitled Review shows, where I work in jokes, I work in clips. They're a little bit more edited, so I'm not quite as rambly. But I'm just not able to do that now. So with all that in mind, I'm looking at my list here of stuff to talk about, because like I said, I knew my brain was going to fly from my body here. There's things about it that, like I said, certain symptoms that not everybody has or are unique to different people. Somebody wrote in there, boy, I hope he doesn't drive. Early on, I did not. I would always have somebody else drive when I first got this. And again, this was when I was like in bed for like, several days. But what happens is that there is a part of my brain that I'm very thankful for, some sort of emergency part, break in case of emergency, that says if this starts to hit you, something turns on that just says, this is your life now. This is life or death. There's other, if there's other people in the car, same thing. Just like turn on, do not mess around with this. And the best way I can describe it is that driving just on like a normal road is kind of like driving in really bad construction when they have it down to one lane. They have the concrete barriers on both sides, so it's really, really tight. It's like that. You can do it. It's just really, really tricky. And it's the same thing with reading, too. It's like, yes, I can do it, but it's just much trickier to do. So, something does, if it's like, a situation where I absolutely have to, something will click on and I can get through it, but I'll probably collapse shortly afterwards or later that night. And that's another thing that they're finding out, is that there are things with this in terms of what you eat or overexerting yourself or, going through a lot of stress or whatever, that can affect you the next day. That's like a new study that they're finding. And if you have it, again, you feel that. That feels right. So on the one hand, it's really nice to hear that and say, oh, they're finding this out. But on the other hand, man, does that make finding the triggers and the causes of it so much more difficult, because that's another really, really big thing. Triggers and different causes. And everyone's going to have different ones. I actually started writing down the ones I have here, just anyone that I even had a thought about or maybe could or couldn't be. I'm not saying these always trigger it. I'm saying majority of times they do. Coffee, whether it's decaf or regular, usually has an effect on me. Here's one that is guaranteed to knock me out. I was almost thinking, do I do this? Nah, that'd just be uncomfortable. I was almost going to combine these two just to show you what it's like. Coffee, again, whether decaf or regular, and a heavy sugar pastry. I mean, something like a chocolate muffin or a donut or something like that, a really heavy sugar pastry will knock me out. Not to a point where I can't necessarily talk or anything, but I will just be at half capacity. I will just be sitting here like this, and someone will be talking, I'll just sort of nod my head, like that. Wine is another one. Just any kind of heavy food, it's going to take up a lot of space in my stomach. Spicy food is another. Pasta is another one. Skipping showers, which I don't do much, thank God, anyway, but that's something that can actually kind of throw it up. Stress is a big one, which is really, really tricky, because when you get this and it's setting you behind on everything, or you're, again, doing a Q&A or something, and it starts to hit you, obviously you're going to be stressed out, and that's just going to make it worse. So I try to find this in between where it's okay, whatever part of my brain is functioning now, tell yourself it's okay. You know what? You feel relaxed when this thing hits. Just kind of give into that. Give into you're relaxed kind of thing. It's really tricky finding that middle ground. Quick movements. I also have getting up, as part of that if I get up too quick. But I mean, I'm not going to do anything too crazy right now. But yeah, if I took my head and shook it back and forth like this, that could activate. Milk is another one. This one's really interesting. Fried potato products. I originally had potato products on there, but then my brother was like, well, have you ever had just a baked potato on its own? I'm like, no, I just assume it's all potatoes. Well, you should try it just to see. And a regular potato was fine. So, but other fried products are fine. So something about fried potatoes in general, I don't know if it's an oil. I don't know if it's something about combining the frying part of it with the starch. I don't know, but something about that activates it. Dark, heavy beer, syrup. These are all things that I just had to find out. Too much greasy food. Here's a fun one. Boredom. I can certainly overexert myself, and that can be too much if too much work is thrown my way, or I'm trying to keep too much in my mind. But also not having enough going on. That can trigger it. And with that said, it's still a process I'm trying to figure out, and I would just keep adding to it, because I put in there that I think going in tight spaces might be something. Because when I'm on a plane, recently, that's been really, really tricky. And the skies are a lot more bumpy now, if you haven't noticed. And that was just hell going through that. This one time I went to a concert recently, and they had little porta-johns there, and it was starting to hit me, and I went in just in the porta-john, again, tight spaces. Whoa, oh my God, this feels awful, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, so that's it, tight spaces. But then I went in later, and it was totally fine. Same day, totally fine. So I think when it hits me, it just makes me really dizzy in those spaces, in those really, really tight spaces. But just to point to again about the unpredictability of it, a couple months ago, I was traveling every weekend. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I was doing a convention. I was flying to film at the Garfield house. I was flying out to see some friends and stuff. I mean, I was constantly going somewhere. I had people coming in that they were going to do a convention, and I've done these big get-together stuff where you have to be very socially active. And I thought that was something too, the amount of being socially active could trigger it too, which sometimes it is. If it hits you, that is very, very draining, but I don't think it's necessarily a trigger. But that's still 3 or 4 weeks where I was mostly okay. It was not hitting me that much. Like, I still do the thing where I'd sort of go like that and then wake back up, but for the most part in those 3-4 weeks, I was doing all right, and this was stuff that I thought would usually trigger it. So there's so many things involved with this that we just don't know about, and like I said, it is going to be different for every person. And one of them, I thought, at the last convention I went to, I was talking with some friends, and they said, have you tried cutting out gluten? And it's funny the person mentioned that because I said I was on a bus ride once. I was talking to a friend about it, and the bus driver said, yeah, my sister had chronic fatigue for 6 years. I'm like, whoa, really? And it's like, yeah, and this was before COVID and everything. I mean, she couldn't get out of bed. She was bedridden and everything. I'm like, holy, well, how is she now? Oh, she's been without it 8 years. Holy smokes. So what'd she do? Oh, she cut out gluten and, and exercise too. And that was it. And exercise is very difficult if you can't obviously get out of bed. That's the whole other thing. But, I was like, okay, well, I don't recall gluten being like a trigger or anything. I don't react differently after having it. But then I forgot I have oatmeal every morning. I forgot like a doofus. I'm like, oh yeah, that's gluten. The wheat's right on the box. It's very obvious that's gluten. So literally last week during that Q&A, I was going a whole week without gluten, and it made it worse. It was activating it far, far more. And this is literally after a study came out recently saying that gluten can affect chronic fatigue. They did a study. I can't remember how many people it was. It was maybe like 20 people, something like that. And 4 weren't affected by gluten. It was like exactly the same as anything else. But the rest were. When they cut out gluten, there was a mass improvement. So I guess I'm one of those 4 that it doesn't, not only doesn't have an effect with, but I guess some part of me really needs gluten, which is so funny. You always hear so many good things about going gluten-free. I was just like, well, I guess not for me, that for whatever reason, my body really, really needs it. So it is just this whole thing about trying to figure it out and trying all these different tests. And like I said, it has technically gotten better. I'm not bedridden. It's not something where I've been knocked out for days or weeks anymore. But yeah, sometimes it will still affect me. If I ever say I'm sorry, I gotta cancel a stream or something like that, it's because I literally can't talk or I literally just can't focus. I can barely stand up. I mean, this does still happen, but it does happen a lot less. But there are times where, yes, it can still knock me out for like several hours or even half a day. I think that's the most I've gotten recently is half a day it's knocked me out, which again is so much better than like 4 or 5 days. And I think, like I said, on top of dropping the workload, there's one other thing I did try that this has had the biggest effect is that, again, I feel like whether it changes stuff or tries to exploit your weaknesses, whatever, it's like it finds different things to make you weaker, or like things that you already have and makes it worse. I have ADD or ADHD, whatever, and I've worked with it fine. I always kind of make the joke that like I might have OCD because I'm very obsessed with deadlines and being neat and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I think they kind of balance each other out because I'll want to work on something and then make the deadline, then move on to the next thing. And again, I love creating, so it's this nice little 3-way triangle that works very, very well. But earlier this year, the ADD was getting really bad. I was getting time blindness bad. To give you an example, if you go back to a video I did, I think it was like my top 20 favorite movies or top 10 favorite movies? I think it was top 20 favorite movies. I thought when I filmed that, I filmed it for about 20 minutes. And then I looked at how long it was. It was like an hour and a half. And I'm like, holy smokes, I got to see something about this. Because everybody can lose track of time sometimes. But I mean, this was like bad time blindness. And I wasn't getting work done. I would just get distracted by something else. It just kind of stare blankly at the screen, just a zombie face, kind of thing. And I finally said, okay, I got to see somebody about this. So I went to a place and I got put on Adderall. Adderall, at least the amount they've given me, is probably the biggest difference I've noticed since getting this. This was the first time I was like, whoa, that kind of put that in its place for a little bit of time. And it was very surreal feeling it like it's about to take me over, it's about to close my eyes, but then it doesn't. It would get to that point and then it would stop. And I'm like, ooh, okay. And man, it felt like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I'm like, yeah, this is like my normal workload. I love this. I love this. But then that kind of balanced out too, to where it's like, okay, it's not the complete cure. It's not always going to knock it out. There are still times I'll take Adderall and it would still knock me out for like half a day kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, it's not the solution, but that is like the biggest difference I got. And the doctor was even saying, yeah, like some people, or a lot of people have gotten this, whether it be from COVID or something else, have noticed an improvement with Adderall. So if you are watching this and you haven't tried that yet, maybe look into that. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work. If you have this, there's so many random things that can affect this, but that certainly had a big effect on me. And that is the thing that you're always kind of looking for. You're trying to find, like, I guess that magic bullet, but it probably doesn't exist. It's probably a combination of several things. And hopefully as we keep getting more awareness around this, as we keep, maybe getting more charities and putting more money into research on this, and so we can figure out more about it. But the big thing that really pulls me through a lot of it, and it may not pulls me through, but makes me grateful that this is all I have, is that I have seen several people that have just gotten it so much worse. And if you really want an understanding of what this can do, and again, how freaking lucky I am, there's a few channels, I'm going to link them in the description, but there's a few channels to check out. One is actually called CFS Recovery, and this is a guy who was a personal trainer. He got it so bad where he was not only bedridden, but like it hurt just to turn his neck. I mean, really, really rough. And he made a full recovery. Well, yeah, foolish. He can do personal training again. It's something he still has to live with. But he has a whole channel just dedicated, not only talking about his recovery, but helping other people going through it. And as well, figuring out as much as possible. If there's something new that's discovered, he'll put it on. I mean, the whole channel is dedicated to it. So I visited it quite a few times, and I have followed quite a bit of what he's talked about. Some of his work, some of it hasn't. But again, especially someone that's a physical trainer. I mean, somebody that was very, very active, and then he couldn't move. He practically couldn't move. That really is quite an improvement. I mean, that really is. I mean, you want to listen to what this guy says, and he's very good at articulating it well, and then updating things as well. So that's a great channel to check out. There's a really good film. It's on YouTube right now, and you can see it. It was made almost 10 years ago, so again, it's before COVID, but it was really giving you an idea of just the worst that this has and the effect it has and everything. And the film is called Unrest. And actually, the person introduced it to me is Barry McCreary, because he scored it. And because I was telling him I had this thing, and he's like, "Oh, I did this movie with this person that had it, and she directed it and everything." And I just watched, and I was like, holy smokes. I mean, every single time she talks about she's going through anything, she films what she's going through and everything, it's like I am just a tiny fraction of what she's going through. Because you would see her just like fall to the ground and start crying because she's just like somewhere else. Like she's just so lost in her brain. It just sounds so strange, but you can just get so lost. There was one review I did, I think for Land Before Time, where this movie did keep popping up in my head. When I would think about being lost and there's that hope, just try to get there kind of thing. And I really was, speaking from experience about this is what it really feels like. And when you see like what this person is talking about and the other people in this film are talking about, it's like that times 10. And this is a very well made film. And definitely, even though it's 10 years old, again, there's just not enough. There's just not that much information. We haven't come that far on it, at least as far as I know. So it's a very good film to check out. It's very difficult to watch, definitely. I mean, I've mentioned before, I'm not really a big crier, but man, if you want to get me tearing up pretty easily, just show me anything about people going through this and going through it, far worse than me. And again, it's just this awful feeling of like, man, you feel bad for what you have, but you just feel you feel so lucky, but then you feel guilt of like, that, man, you're thinking that off of like these people and these terrible things that they have to go through. So, I mean, that's another really well done, fantastic movie made about this. Unrest is what it's called. And then the final one This is actually another YouTuber who got this. The name of the channel is Physics Girl, and she got it from COVID. And this is a very active person. If you don't know this channel, would go and show how physics works through fun ways. Again, just doing all this really cool, active, fun stuff. And teaching while doing, just super smart, super funny, really, really cool. And then she got it and just bedridden. Stopped the channel cold, and has made, I think, 2 videos since then in this 2 years, and they're both update videos. And one is that, the first update video is that she wasn't doing that great, and it was just showing how she had to live her life, and again, the diet that she had to go through. Everything just had to be spaced out, and experimenting with different things, and sometimes, an ambulance had to come because she was just so... sometimes there would be pain, other times she would just be lost in her own head and just breaking down and everything. It is so difficult to watch. But then the second video, the second update video, she is moving around. The big thing is, holy smoke, she can, go outside. She can, walk on the sidewalk a little bit. It's not much, but she can, and she could actually talk to the camera. She could say how she's doing and everything. There is hope. There is light at the end of that tunnel, but she still has it. And again, it's just, and she talks about other people that have it as well. And there's such a varying degree in there of people living with this. And something said in the Unrest film is that she says there are people that have chronic fatigue and you might not even know it. And I like that I can talk to people and they wouldn't necessarily, put together that I have this. But at the same time, I don't hide from it. I don't pretend like I don't have it, because I will be honest, when it hits, it is very embarrassing, and I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling of I'm not in control of my own mind, that I could be walking on the sidewalk and then I just have to stop and I'll just stand there and close my eye, again, like Rowan Atkinson from Rat Race. But at the same time, it has come so far, and when you compare it to other people who have it just so much worse, just so much worse, it does make you realize just you have to, you just have to have an awareness of what this thing can do, and you have to be thankful for what it's not doing at the same time. So if you want to check out any of these videos, particularly Unrest, and the updates from Physics Girl, those are the ones I really highly recommend. If you actually have chronic fatigue, I would recommend the CFS Recovery channel. If you don't, if you want to know more, sure, but it's literally a whole channel, so there's a lot of videos to watch there. But with Unrest and Physics Girl, again, there's only a handful there. But yeah, that'll give you an idea whenever I talk about this. And some people say, oh man, he has it rough. Good Lord, I can't believe he's blah, blah, blah. No, these people have it rough. These are the ones that are going through the real hardships, and they are the ones that should have more focus. Though some people say, have you gone to a specialist? Have you gone to blah, blah, blah? First of all, very few specialists out there. Very, very few. Hopefully all of this will rise because there has been that spike with COVID, but it doesn't. Whenever people ask me that, I guess I could seek it out, but then I do think of those people going through what they're going through, and I'm just like, no, I can function enough. I can do my job. I don't even know if I've missed an NC video yet. A lot of them are still, much shorter and not as big productions, but and even with the reviews, I'm not doing a top review show anymore, but I'm doing reviews and I'm still doing videos every week. And it's not because I have to, it's because I really love doing this, because again, boredom is another one. Not keeping the brain active, or at least happy in some way, is going to make it worse as well. So, this is my way of doing that. This really does bring me joy. And again, Christ, I am so thankful you all are still there watching what I do, allowing me to do this for a living. So yeah, I have cut down work quite a bit. I'm not doing as much as before. But yeah, when people point to, hey, you should really get this, wait in line for the specialist and stuff like that, I just feel like I'd be taking that away from somebody else who really needs it. I'm adapting okay. I know it's probably leaving long-term effects and everything, but whatever effects it's having on me, there are so many more people that just have it so much worse. So yeah, that is something where I'm just like, if somebody was nearby in the neighborhood or something like that, or it does become very common where just the average doctor knows how to treat this, or God forbid they have like a pill or something like that, we get to that point, man, that'd be great. I don't see that happening in the near future, but it is possible. Again, that's like one of the few good things that maybe came from COVID, is that it sucks that all these people are going through this and they do have long COVID and everything, but at the same time, it hopefully, man, fingers crossed, is getting more awareness to it, and more doctors and research is being done on it. Because even before COVID, there was still a fair amount of people that had this, and like I said, they just weren't even believed. And there's so many things we still don't know about. It affects women more than men by like a lot. And we don't know why. We don't know why it just shuts off the brain. We don't know why certain triggers activate. We don't know why there's not a test for it. Why there's nothing we can really point to. But there are some things we know. We know the Epstein-Barr virus usually has a connection to it. We know a lot of people that have it have a hard time getting up without feeling dizzy. We also know things like one of the symptoms can be not being able to get to sleep. Sometimes that happens. It's not as much, but yeah, one of the symptoms can very well be just you can't sleep. So also, I've seen this too, and again, I don't know what people are going through in your own head and everything, but I do see people say, maybe I got, because I've been really tired recently. You would know. It's different than just being really tired. It's different than being exhausted. That's why I kind of don't like the analogy I made before about it's like running a marathon, after running a marathon, but it's all the symptoms, but you're not out of breath. It is that too, but it definitely is like things just turn off in your brain just without warning. And it just feels different than anything else. It's just a different feeling. It's like when you get COVID versus getting the flu. You can just tell this is different. And like I said, it always feels like, for me anyway, it always feels like there's like an invisible force just going up behind my eyelids and just slowly pushing my eyelids down. Not even slowly, just you're out kind of thing. But I can still hear everything fine, and I can sometimes comprehend what's being said to me. If it's very simple things, I can still follow and everything. But yeah, and again, the good news is that it is a lot less. I really think the thing that happened last week during the Q&A stream was because I cut out gluten. I was trying something different. And again, that's just one of the things I find out I guess I need. So it usually is not, it's nowhere near as bad as, like I said, these other people and these videos I've recommended to you. Definitely, if you want to know more about it, those are wonderful videos to watch. They're very difficult. Again, they're hard to watch, but they are still very, very well put together and very informative. But I'm not there. I'm not at that point, and I am thankful for that. But I'm also thankful that not only do I have a job that allows me that if I need to take these breaks, I can. If I need to cancel a stream, I can. If I need to make the production smaller, I can. I got wonderful people that I work with. I mean, I'm just so thankful to have this job. I'm just thinking people have like normal 9-to-5 jobs. Getting this, I just can't even imagine. And man, just my heart's out to you, man. But yes, I'm getting by okay. I'm very thankful where I am. Just know that this is something that's going on. It is getting better. But even in getting better, there are some things that, because I just don't do them as much, are getting a little worse. Like, I can't be as physically active as I usually am. I can't read as much as I do. So obviously that's going to have some effects on me. But at the same time, I do love doing this. And I've seen people say, oh, he's got to pull back more, he's got to stop more, and blah, blah, blah. I am keeping an awareness of it, about how much work I can and can't do. And I also know, again, I really want to put this out to all of you, how thankful I am for how kind and patient y'all have been, especially when I did that one video just about the health update, about like what I have, that I do have chronic fatigue and everything. This is something I'm going to have to live with for a little bit of time. I tried to do a funny thumbnail, like that, like try to show, because I know when people see health update, they think like the person has cancer or something like that. So I tried to make it kind of a funny looking, thumbnail there, but people took it really seriously and were so supportive. I mean, so incredibly supportive. And that is just, I don't have the words. I really don't. That is just so kind of everybody. And even when I just tell people, again, I try to play it off as kind of light. Like, it sucks, but I can live okay with it. Just this stuff happens, it'll be all right. And they're just like, that's awful. That's just terrible. Like, I don't know. In some ways, I feel like some people have gotten more, they can't make that connection as well. In other ways, I feel like we've made stronger connections. Or maybe some have, some haven't, or maybe they do in different ways. I don't know. I can definitely say I've seen it from my audience. It has really meant a lot to me. And I thank you for, your kind words. I thank you, God, again, for allowing me to do this for a living, for allowing me to live my dream job, even going through something like this. I mean, this is the stuff that just makes it worth it. I love doing this, and I love how kind you all are to stick around for all these years. And I guess I'm rambling now. I think I got out everything I wanted to say here. I'm trying to see if there's any other things here I wanted to bring up. I think that's it. So, like I said, I just wanted to give an update about what it's like living with this thing 2 years later. It is getting better. It is also changing, so there are other things that can come from it, but even the feeling is a little different. Not just it's happening less than it was before, but just the overall feeling of it is different than it was before. So, yes, again, a big thank you to everybody once more. I really do, man. I don't have the words, and it just means so much that you stick around. Thank you so much again. And again, if you really want to know more about this, look at those videos I left in the link. They can be very difficult to get through, but they're very, very well put together if you really do want to learn more about it. So thank you so much, and take care.